Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. I've got a fellow podcaster on today from the Lonely Marketers. We have Glenn Southam. How are you, sir?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Very good to have you on. This is number 2 podcast of today. I had the one and only Mark Gaisford on.
Excellent.
And I feel like I've had a stampede of something run over me.
Yeah, he's excellent.
He is larger than life.
Yeah, if you were going to do a roundup of 2019 social media stars on LinkedIn especially,
he's the one,
he'd be
right?
up there. 100%.
Who else?
Oh, there's not many. I think if you look at the likes of Mike Winnett and people like that, but
Charlotte Doherty.
yeah, obviously that goes without saying. It's got your own category there.
Yeah. So it would be Mike or Mark. They're
very different as well. Very different.
Yeah, well, there's 20 years difference there as well, but they're really interested in meeting him, and he was talking about his approach. And what was he said about LinkedIn? He said it's not a professional networking site; it's a
social media channel.
It's a social media channel. So start treating it like that.
Yeah, and it always has been. I think if I go back to when I was doing kind of training back in the day, is that I'd always say that LinkedIn was a social channel. You just have to interact differently depending on what channel you're at, and I think LinkedIn especially this year has come into its own in terms of content creation, organic reach especially, and what people are getting back from it. People are actually starting to see results, and I think people in the community have started to realise what it can do for them. It's not just a case of, this is an online Yellow Pages where I can just connect with people, add them to my database and then send them sales messages. It's something where they can, and usually do, live for quite a lot of the day to have the conversations. And why not? That's all, especially in recruitment, that's all you want to do, is you want to continue having conversations with the right people. And whether that's on the phone, whether it's over email, or whether it's on a social network, does it really matter if you're getting the results that you've set out to do? Yeah,
the one-to-many approach.
Yeah.
One of the things he said to me today was that he goes for big topics.
Mm-hmm.
I have no friends. Recruiters giving jobs. The 2 things that went viral. I have dyslexia, and I was really interested by that because we don't. We stay within our niche, so it means that nothing that we ever do goes beyond 100,000, whereas his stuff goes to 1 million. And I was asking, how do you, if you're going to so many people and you're trying to run a recruitment business, how do you get anything done? He said he doesn't.
Yeah, he relies on everyone. He relies on Olivia and people like that together. I think it is a conundrum. Because I've always worked in specialist recruitment businesses as well, is that my marketing approach has more often than not been that specialist approach in terms of really niche content, really targeted content, but with clear outcomes on what you're expecting to get back from it. I think there's a place for the broad content, and it still happens, and it's still very successful. Everyone still does salary surveys, everyone still does CV tips and how to write job descriptions, but Mark especially and others have just started to flip that on the head and kind of done what not to do, and that gets more traction. It kind of pokes fun at it, but it's still ultimately delivering the same message.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what he's done. So I want to jump back into your career. So I did a postgrad in marketing 1,000 years ago, and I learned nothing. And I didn't have the administration skills to somebody I have to close a little later to really get into that career. And back then there wasn't really social media we established with the same age. I didn't make the same mistake I did with Jason Rumney and say we're the same age and he was 32. So back then it was different trying to get into marketing. How did you make the leap into the industry? Did you fall into that? Did you always want to get into marketing? What was it?
So I did business studies at university, the standard, the catch-all role, which
Maslow and all that.
Hierarchy of needs and customer experience. But it had law and it had finance, and like the majority of people in this crazy industry, I fell into it. In that last year of university, applying non-stop to every job going, and ended up in a financial recruitment business, Mark Saturn as it was then,
Oh, wow.
as a marketing assistant. I remember it back then. It was an assessment day of, I think, 25 people.
Yeah.
So this is back in 2004. 25 people. You had an interview. Then there was an actual task where there was loads of magazines and newspapers on the table with Pritt sticks and scissors, and it was like, create an advert to talk about financial recruitment. And I was like, I haven't got a clue. I don't really know what an accountant does. I don't know what I'm looking for. But yeah, then got X Factor, cut down to 10 people in the afternoon, done another panel interview, and ended up with this job and stayed there for nigh on 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the company changed a lot then. So I went in as marketing assistant. It was great business. I had a really good boss and saw every part.
Yeah.
And back then, every part of the marketing mix included print advertising in the FT. So attention to detail was good, but I was involved in bids, social media, not really. But job advert writing, sending out paper surveys to get candidate and client feedback. But over time, 510 Group bought Mark Saturn, and I worked for a couple of the other brands, like starting their marketing functions within London.
What's it like being a marketer, a non-revenue generator, in an industry that's obsessed with the bottom line and with everybody being billable? How do you always have to fight your corner?
100%. I think very, very early on, and I think this is why there's so few marketers who hang around as long as I have in the industry, is that you do have to justify your position. I think it's changing because marketing is seen as a cost, but it should be seen as a way of generating revenue, and it's up to marketers as a profession, as an industry, to put the processes in place to do it. But very early on, I didn't feel under threat or less worthy than the consultant, but I did always have that I need to justify it. And well, how do I justify it? I need to be showing what impact I'm having both at an individual consultant level to help them get more candidates, to bring in client leads, and ultimately put a couple of extra zeros at the end of their pay slip on a monthly basis. So building those relationships at an individual level was very important, and just not siloing marketing away from sales, to that colouring in department of, I'm going on a visit tomorrow, Glenn, can you create a PowerPoint presentation? Well, that's cool, but let's sit down and let's talk about what else you can sell. Even back then, I remember as a 22, 23-year-old, and people were probably telling me to, fuck off and things like that. But I was saying, look, start selling branded pages on your website. Before that was a cool thing now that companies charge £10,000 a month for recurring revenue. So there was always a need, I felt, to justify it, but I think that's probably more personality led. But I've seen it, there's frustrations of junior people coming through saying, oh, this isn't what I expected from a marketing role, or they're not respecting me, the consultants. It happens, but that's on you to change that perception.
When you moved to staff group, was that the first time you got to be like an enterprise architect of your own marketing department? Yeah.
So when I joined staff group, it was a kind of a turning point in their history. They never had a marketing department. They were a classic IT recruitment firm, fast growth, going in, doing deals, get it out. No one really knew the name, so there was thousands of IT recruiters doing it. But when I joined in 2011, there was that classic, that 3 to 5 year timeline that Paul and Mark, I know you've had Mark on the show, who they wanted to exit the business or sell it potentially, but they didn't have the brand awareness, they didn't have the processes in place, they didn't have a marketing team. They were only a single brand as Eurostaff back then. My second interview was, how do you internationalise this business and multi-brand it? And then I gave that presentation, got offered the job, and they said, no, that presentation you did, just go ahead and do it.
Because they would have wanted to do what S3 did with their brand.
And that was tough. And I was, like I say, I was the first marketing person to go into that business with some very strong characters in there who'd earned you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds for a number of years doing things a certain way, and then you've got this younger upstart coming in trying to introduce, you know, new ways of working, even like email marketing and reasons why we're changing rebrands, why the website's changing, and you've got a lot of pushback. But I had a bit more experience then compared to Mark Southam, and most importantly, I had Paul and Mark invested in me, saying, Glenn, we're paying you for marketing. If anyone's kicking up a fuss, then come to us, but this is yours, you enforce it and you pay it. I had a seat in the management meetings on a weekly basis, and then over that period of time I grew the team. So it went from me, you know, single marketer, quite quickly got on an assistant, got on a graphic designer, and then when the company went international around Europe, got someone in Germany and things like that. So we grew it in line with the business, but again, it was because we were just able to demonstrate ROI. I knew every time that I was doing something, I was doing it for a reason, and that reason was to impact on the business strategy. So I worked really closely with Paul and Mark on the yearly business strategy before any of the salespeople. You know, I wanted to know, and they were willing to give me, how do you want to increase the levels of repeat business? How do we want to increase the average fee? Well, how can marketing play a role in it? How do we need to change our communications and the stuff that we're pushing out? So I was integral and appreciate those guys giving me that opportunity up until the point it sold in 2015, which again for a marketing person to be, you know, involved and knowing of that process going on it's great, and I think it will probably move forward that way now. Is you know, if you're looking to sell, looking to get investment and things like that, is that marketing will be playing a role in that. That's a big consideration now. It's not just that profit number and your head count. Is, you know, investors, private equity firms, even if it's a trade sale, they want to know your customer satisfaction levels. They want to know where all your inbound inquiries.
So I was going to ask you that. In order to sell your business, what are the boxes that you have to tick as a marketer to make sure that, you know, you're not letting the side down?
That's a tough one. Only from experience, and you know, when I've sat across the table from people asking around like due diligence processes and things, they want to know around customer satisfaction and what clients and candidates think of your business, and that is
and that's marketing. That's not customer success.
Does that exist in recruitment firms? It will fall on marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, it will fall on marketing. It might be, or at least driven.
We
by
couldn't
marketing.
have two non-billable people.
No, exactly. But I think marketing forever it might have sent out those questionnaires and things, but only to placed candidates. And if I'm being honest, that's bollocks, because you're only going to get good feedback. We went through that kind of process. Is that any decent due diligence? They'd say we've got access to your database. We're going to choose 10,000 people. We've got a market research firm who's going to ring them non-stop. Most recruitment companies, if they heard that, they'd be, oh shit. So you've got to put those processes in place before. Brand awareness, it's a big thing. You need to be known, and you can't put a figure on how valuable your brand is. But I'm sure we'll come on to it. Awards and things like that. Very touchy subject. But I think a strong brand, a strong level of referrals needs to be in place, and I think you've got to be able to show the credibility that you know what you're talking about in your market. And you're creating that platform that clients and candidates trust you, and the only way they can trust you is by, well, obviously engaging with you, but you've got to be able to demonstrate that you know the markets you're serving, and that can be, you know, through anything, through blogs, through the events you hold. If you're giving back to the industry in any way, even if you're not recruiting the youngest graduates in engineering, for example, when you're doing the mid to senior level, are you creating an academy to try and help the industry? Things like that will help as well.
And how did your podcast come about? What is it?
So, by the very nature of it, since I started up Two Ends, which is just me being a consultant doing marketing for recruitment firms, going from a team of having a team with me all day, every day for 9, 10, 11 hours a day, whatever it is. I was literally by myself if I wasn't with clients. And I just missed the conversations with marketers, and I was having them on LinkedIn with messages and on WhatsApp groups. I just thought, look, if I'm having these...
You and your buddy Rob are always...
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, let's just start having those conversations and bringing them to life, because...
What are common themes that come up in it?
Getting sales to get your ideas moving forward.
What are the roadblocks in that?
The buying from above, or the marketer, if I'm being completely honest, the marketer not having the courage to actually keep pushing their ideas through. Don't take no for an answer. Some marketers, they do have that credibility, they have it at board level, they get brought in, they've been at the company for a long time, but it's just, there is still too many who just see sales over here, marketing over there, and it is the support. And there's no reason to be now with the technology, the kit, the databases and the data we have in general, for that not to be closer together, for marketing to really push as much down the funnel to let the consultants do what they want.
Let me pitch in a scenario. So I'm a recruitment founder and I've got a big bag of money. I want to scale. Got investors, right? Glenn, what do I do? Day one. Like, what do we need? How do we go about it? Like, what does that conversation look like between you and me?
If it was to scale and to grow, when a company gets investment like that, that is going to be completely into headcount, which you'll be pleased to know.
Okay.
So increasing headcount's key. I'd be focusing that money on your employer brand, and when I say employer brand, that doesn't mean spending £10,000 on a video. Is really dig into the purpose of what your business is. I go into so many recruitment companies and go, doing what you're doing, and you don't get the answer the first time.
What makes you better?
Yeah, exactly. Or you go to a consultant.
Why would somebody join you other than your competitor?
Yeah, and that's because we pay the best commission schemes. Oh, that's brilliant. But why do you pay the best commission schemes? Because we only want the best people. But why do you want the only best people?
Yeah.
And then you finally, after 3 or 4 asking the same why question, you get down is because they want to be either the best in the niche, or they really want to be known for developing people.
Value proposition.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think. And that's a big task. That this is more than having a visions day and picking out a few words from a textbook and putting them on a poster in the wall. It's like digging into that purpose and then building that value proposition around your brand is so important. But then, even more importantly, is letting your consultants and your and the rest of the staff of your business live and breathe those values. Actually show, we've invested in this. Go ahead. You have to be the advocates with it. Let marketing help, distribute it and get it on a vehicle. But that would be the key thing. If there was more money, marketing automation. Now, marketing automation would be number 2.
What does that mean?
So marketing around candidate nurturing. There's so many.
You mean like candidate ID stuff?
Yeah, something like candidate ID. But I dread to think if you combined, even just in London, even after GDPR, where everyone got rid of all the contacts that they should have, if you combine all of those databases together, there'll be millions and millions of candidates on there that just have not been contacted or updated, and there's no reason for that now. If I take IT, for example, in development, is someone will get a candidate, it goes on the database, they're not right for any particular role at the moment. Right, fine, then they get forgotten because it's not used well. But in the world of development, in a year's time, they can learn 2 new languages, and they could be, but there's no ongoing stuff, and that's where marketing can play a role. But that's a huge technology project, and that's what I push from a marketing point of view. Is you can't silo it, because marketing has to play a role in technology.
Some of our that might go above some of our listeners' heads. To put that in layman's terms, which I sit in
consultant terms.
You have a database of your candidates. This technology will send content to you.
Content that probably marketing's made.
That marketing's made. You will open up that content it will then track you across the internet to see when you're buyer ready. It will then feed that information back to marketing, and they will then let sales know this person should be contacted.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's fair, but there's still an accountability part there to bridge that gap and ensure that that gets done, because again, it's something that's been done for a long time. If I think back to doing very simple email campaigns,
do they still work?
Email 100% still works. 100%. I think it's so underused in terms of the data that you can get, but you can see exactly who's opened it. It's done the wrong way. 90% of emails still done the wrong way, where people pretend to personalise email, but we've wised up to that now as consumers. So just be quite explicit in what you're trying to do. So if you're doing a mass mail shot, say that we're sending this out to our community of people. But
interesting.
Yeah, but email's not. There's still a gap.
Do websites still work?
Oh, that's a big question. Depends on the.
Mine is just for brand. I get nothing through from it.
Depends completely on the purpose. It's defining the purpose of your website as well. So if I go back to,
it's to house some content. Maybe it's to house that. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd be driving people from social to the website. I'd know their data, and then I'd be retargeting them. We're nowhere near that.
No.
Who is though?
Yeah. You know what the 40,000 odd recruitment companies in the UK. That's a lot of choice to go to a website, especially if you're job led. You're competing with job boards, Google for Jobs, Indeed, LinkedIn, and the likes of that. Website, you need to define why you're doing it. At Staff Group or at Eurostaff, we went through a period when Paul and Mark had left the business, and I pretty much had free rein in terms of decision making on marketing, and I went on to a new website project.
Bigger budget?
I just defined my own budget, and I'm best mates with the FD, so it's handy. But I took all of the jobs off of the website, so every single job that was on there, I took it off, and we went completely content led. But the content wasn't even from us as a marketing team, marketing led. So Carly, who worked for me, we went out to our candidates and clients, and then got them to contribute to the website, talking about the latest developments. So we didn't do anything, and people were going. I find this amazing.
That's kind of what we do with our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And I find this. It's a weird thing. Is like you sometimes get consultants going, well, if we don't have jobs on our website, clients will think we're not very good at Java developers. And I go, if clients are making their purchasing decision based on the number of jobs on the website, then you're not very good at your job in the first place. So, and
no client's ever looking at a website.
No.
Once.
No. But if you can,
and if you're telling their story on your website, they're going, "That's me. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for that."
Or you've got content from their peers or their competitors. They say, look, they're talking to the right people. Yeah. I think that's a lot more valuable, especially as 95% of recruitment companies' job adverts are absolutely dog shit.
Why are executive search firms shite at marketing?
I think they just don't think they need to do it. I can imagine there's a little bit of arrogance in that
There
space.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, you would swear they're not filling jobs. Like, it's not like.
Yeah.
I have conversations with them sometimes. They're like, yeah, we'll work with you. So do you want to come on the podcast? I'll help you get your name out there. Well, we're not that type of company.
And they're probably in the best place to get really good content because their contacts are at the very, very top of every business. Like some of the insight and roundtables and that kind of marketing you could do at that level is insane. And
I was mentioning this earlier, but we've got a partnership with Joe Mullings.
Mm-hmm.
We went over there and we met him, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're aware of who he is.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah. So he's taken things to another level in how he goes about his.
He's kind of a media company first rather than a recruiter. Sometimes it feels like.
Well, he's not from a revenue perspective.
Yeah.
But yes, he is almost turning into that person. And one of the things he said to me is he was like, okay, well, we'll do a joint branding project, and I was like, I didn't even have to pitch that to you. That's amazing. Okay, that's exactly where I see things. And I think executive search firms and recruitment firms in general are missing a bit of a trick in, they're so like, this is my client, there's a confidential search. I think that's a lot of shit. Like, if you can be associated with great brands and help them get their name out there, surely everybody wins if the content's good.
It's the same with case studies and testimonials and anonymising them. And you think, well, if you're not confident enough that if you put your client's name on it and a competitor manages to steal that client off you based on that, then again the relationship is not as strong as you thought it was in the first place. So have a look at yourselves.
Are you delivering every time?
Yeah, to make you the exclusive partner. Yeah. There is a shift. It might sound like that everyone's not doing well, but there are clients of mine, and there's general companies out there who are starting to shift, and they are putting marketing a lot more central.
I'm seeing a lot more boutiques that have a content-only person, not necessarily a marketing manager, but they'll have a content-only person. I thought that didn't exist 2 years ago.
No, and I don't think my role as a marketing consultant doing what I do in terms of advising, road mapping, strategy would exist either, because there has been a shift in marketing can do more for us. It can drive sales. I can't imagine me ever being brought in to Mark Satin kind of thing when I first started there. Maybe not even like at Eurostaff in the first couple of years, but because of the very nature of, I think, marketing in general, is that your first marketing hire within a recruitment company is usually a grad. It's usually someone very, very junior. Any other operations parts of a recruitment firm, if you have your first, your first finance manager or someone in HR, right? they've got to be good straight away. Yeah. So I think it's starting to shift. Marketing was probably the last of those kind of operations thing. IT.
What do you think the root cause of that is? I have my ideas.
It wasn't valued. It's just.
I think it's because the phone doesn't work the way it used to.
Yeah.
So everybody used to pick it up. Now it goes to voicemail. People are going to hate me saying this, but I have visited recruitment rooms all around the world, and I was in one in a big business 8 years ago now, and everybody was on the phone and everybody was doing it. And now when I visit offices, like, they'll tell me, oh yeah, we've really strict KPI. I go in there and there's silence. Yeah. Some of them, like, there's a few you'll hear a bit of a buzz.
Does that frustrate you?
No. No. It's just the way the world's moved. Yeah. So I need to kind of figure, like, people say to me now all the time, oh, you've done a really good job with, like, getting your story out there and telling your brand and getting things out there on LinkedIn. We're able to do that because we're founder-led, so that we don't really care if we make a mistake, what odds. When you're running a big recruitment agency, how can you encourage people to have their own voice on LinkedIn with keeping it within the corporate structure? Is that something that marketing has to train them in terms of like here's the line, don't step over it, or do you just kind of have to?
I think that'll be a personal preference. I think marketing plays a role in educating and kind of building the toolkit, but you need to allow the consultants to use it a lot of the time. The big corporates.
This is my first LinkedIn video.
It's so obvious.
Shoot me now.
You can't over script it. There's no point. I think, and I've probably done it in the past.
Michael Page are the greatest company in the world.
Yeah, but it's true, and I've probably done it in the past where, if I think back now, is that I would have been very templated with job adverts. This is the structure.
So
these are the headings.
Wouldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'd educate and you say, look, write how you'd talk and things. These are the things that you need to tick off. Yeah. How you get there doesn't matter, and I think that's how recruitment companies need to go. Is just be outcome led. As long as you're completely, and this goes from marketing to sales, is like very top. Is like, this is what we expect to get as an outcome from doing this activity. At various points along the timeline, if we're not hitting certain milestones, then we stop it and we try something else. Like you say, the phone might not be as prevalent now in the industry, but I can guarantee it will still be working very, very well for some, and that's where it's changed. It's like it's not a one size fits all approach, and I think with the tech and the data available, is that you can be more flexible. If someone's really, really good at video and they're getting loads of leads and loads of candidates, double down on that, but don't start pushing them to still do 3 hours on the phone as well as that. It's nonsensical. Yeah.
We just hired our first content person. It's been a marketing person. It's been an interesting journey for us. I was trying to drive my staff, Arena, Andrea, and hopefully soon to be another, to be a bit more like out there. And it's a big project for Charlotte to get her on board this year. Now she's unstoppable, right? But it's in getting them to do that, I was taking them away from some of the sourcing activities, and I wasn't getting enough like calls booked into my diary. So that we've actually found having a full-time content person and making sure that everything's just a wee bit slicker. Even the last 3 weeks, our analytics have got through the roof, and it's very hard to know how to structure that. Like, do you need one content person to 5 people? Do you need like one marketing person to 100 people? Like,
I've always gone 1 to 20.
Okay, so is there a structure? Is there a?
It's just the way I've kind of in terms of structuring a marketing department in a recruitment firm. There's different ways to go, isn't there? You can hire everything in house. You can hire design, content, copywriting, someone to manage it. You can outsource to an agency and things. It just. My view would always be to try and get as much in-house, because then you do have the control and you can really get to know the business, which is really important in this world of kind of humanising the recruitment and the storytelling. I don't really like the word storytelling, but
What do you prefer instead?
I don't know. Storytelling always, it's like what I tell my 3-year-old son is like, I tell him stories usually to get him to do something, and it's not really true. So I
tell my wife stories so I can go to the pub.
But I'd always have it in house. I think there's always specialist stuff that you can outsource, like SEO and PPC stuff. I think it's tough, but I've always gone 1 to 20.
That leads me on to kind of finishing up, really. But given that you've seen a lot of changes, you've been in recruitment marketing so long, the job of the consultant's changing, the job, and that thus changes what marketing plays in the whole thing.
What should,
Where do we go? What, 5 years from now? Less? Different?
I think there'll be more content, there'll be more automation, but more automation at certain levels of recruitment. I can see the blue collar stuff being more and more automated.
Gone.
Yeah, if you're a student and you're looking for some weekend work, being a waiter at a wedding, you'll literally be able to.
It'll be Uber Ace,
Uber's doing it. I think at the more mid to senior level, I think recruiters are still going to be involved, but you'll be able to automate some of the crap that recruiters have never really liked doing. The admin side of things, of the database, even maybe you look now. There's technology there that helps you write job adverts and take out gender bias and things like that. So I don't think it will change. It wouldn't surprise me, and I think we're seeing it already. Is we're going back to more physical recruitment. There's more events happening now. We're having more conversations with stuff like through podcasts. And I think it has changed because people are wising up to the online thing. But I think in terms of recruitment process, little bits of assessment or interview scheduling, and the selection part, that will get more automated. But when you get to the business end of someone having to, like in your business where you're trying to convince someone to move countries or take their family to a different country, that's not going to automate. You're going to need a conversation, you're going to need convincing, but equally you're going to need the content and stuff that like you guys did when you were in America, being just very honest about what it's like. That content will still be needed. I can't see content going. There'll probably just be different ways of delivering it. Who knows? augmented reality might be a case. You literally have your iPad up there, and you'll be able to see the office that you're working in. It probably already exists, to be honest, somewhere.
Anything else, Cara?
No, I think that's pretty good. Like, I think, it's a good run through of what marketing kind of looks like now and could look like.
All right, deadly. Where can people find you? Podcast, website, business?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the best place. Glenn Southam. 2 N's on Glenn. That's where the company name came from.
All right. Oh, there we go.
There you go. And the Lonely Marketer is just available everywhere.
Are we going for a pint?
Yes.
Lovely.